Ricky Carroll is a good friend of mine. We met through Buddy, who also sponsors him. We got really close since we meet with Buddy once a week to work on the power of now during a book study. He is a long distance tour bus driver and is gone for months at a time. 6 months after Alan left for Indiana, Ricky and I made plans to go see our male friend Lou perform at Texas Station. Lou and his group sing Motown oldies at various casinos around Las Vegas. I live with Garrett, my oldest son, since Alan left. On the night that Ricky picked me up, Garrett goes out to check him out. After I got in the car, Ricky said,
If I didn't know he was your son, I would have thought he was your dad.
"It is that obvious. This is the night that changes my life." Ricky is half black and half Italian and looks more of the latter. He has black wavy hair, is 6'2", 9 years, 9 months older than me. He plays bass guitar and drums. He started touring with a band when he was 16, and his motto was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. When I first met him years ago, he had just come out of the Salvation Army rehab for heroin. We started dating. About a week later, I got a job at Cytel, taking calls for AAA, or a dispatcher. There is a problem. I have to be at work at 7 a.m., and the location is on the south side of the airport, and no bus comes down my street early enough in the morning. So Ricky suggested that I look up to see if I could get to work from his place. And yes, not only are there buses available, but I only need one bus if I leave early enough, or two buses if I leave later. He then says,
The solution is for you to move into my place. Since I am always out of town to go on my bus tours, my apartment would usually sit empty. You could be my live-in house sitter.
the decision wasn't too hard to make. Looking at my current situation, I share a bedroom with my granddaughters, Kamora and Kaylee. I have been there 6 months, and being in a home with six others makes the idea of having privacy a priority. How can I pass this up? That weekend, we went to the late lunch bunch Christmas dance after getting my few belongings to move in. We have a wonderful connection. Ricky is a combination of everything I ever dreamed about with a man. After many years of hopes and dreams shattered, health challenges raging on, my life is now much happier than it has ever been. Ricky, being a musician, participates in many live band sets that happen around town, so we are always on the go from one event to another when I am not at work. When we are not running around, we are either in a meeting or talking. We both are students of the Power of Now concept, which is about learning to live in the moment. Ricky also believes in not just God, but that Jesus Christ is his Lord and Savior. And he talks about him all the time. Every evening, he has me kneel on the side of the bed next to him. He puts his arms around me and prays for me. I dismiss it because seriously, we are living together. How Christian can he really be? He is currently working the NBA All Star Weekend in Houston, Texas, which is the start of a 30-day bus tour for him. Meanwhile, I get up at 3:30 in the morning to get to work by 6:30 since I start at 7. And then because the last transfer bus that I take only runs once an hour after 6 p.m., if I am even 5 minutes late leaving work and miss my first bus that leaves at 4:30, I do not get home until 9 at night because I have to wait an extra hour. My days are long, but I love my job, and I am in love with Ricky. He is a dream come true. He says the right things, makes the right move. He teaches me how to fall in love with myself. The first time Ricky took me shopping after I moved in, he took me to the beauty and body care section of Wally World or Walmart, his favorite store, and asked me to pick out a body wash. I picked up a bar of Dove soap. He took it from me and put it back, saying,
That is a bar of soap. Pick out a body wash.
as he pointed to the many bottles, I replied, I do not use body wash, I use Dove. To which he remarked,
Then pick out a Dove body wash.
I picked the cheapest one there. When he asked if that was the one I really wanted, telling me he was paying for it, I put back the regular scent and got peony and rose oil, which he then replaced with the biggest bottle of that scent. Ricky continued in the same manner with everything, while telling me,
When it comes to you, you are priceless and are worth what it costs to buy a product that puts a smile on your face.
another thing that Ricky has got me into is wanting to do birthday videos. And I started making them for our friends and posting them on their birthdays. I made longer ones for our kids, grandkids, and closest friends. He also loves taking pictures, the one thing I personally avoid. I have had pictures taken professionally or on special occasions, but besides that, if there was a picture of me, someone else took it. It usually before I knew that they did. I didn't like my picture being taken. Ricky does not understand that. He thinks my smile lights up the room and should be done more often. We agreed to document our relationship with pictures. At his suggestion, every morning and several times throughout the day, I pray, God, give me the willingness to be willing to believe you are real and love me. I was also supposed to stop saying higher power and say God instead, despite the fact that I don't believe. Ricky has been gone for a month, and I have started experiencing shortness of breath while on my way to work. We talk on the phone every day, and we agree that if it happens again, I am to go to the hospital. I don't want to go there. I'm tired of hospitals. I have already been admitted to them over 20 times in my life. Between the suicide attempts, which I stopped counting at 8, the 3 times my lung collapsed, my appendix, hernia, heart attack, and other heart issues, and alcohol poisoning. How was I supposed to know if you drink too much you could poison yourself? On March 26th, I got to test the suggestion when I ended up in the hospital, and I posted to Facebook that evening to let everyone know I was okay by saying, I want to thank all that called, texted, came by, Facebooked, or sent a message through somebody else. It really made me feel loved. Keep me in your prayers. They will be doing a few tests first thing in the morning, and I pray that they find what they are looking for so we can get to the solution. I may not understand at this moment while God feels I need to have this life situation, but I'm willing to walk through it. Ricky, or as I refer to him as Baby, left me a beautiful voicemail that night.
Hey, Cheryl, baby. This is Rick. Just want to tell you, God loves you, and I do too. Have a nice rest, baby. I'm praying for you. Don't forget to pray. I'm here with you with spirit, baby. Just 'cause I'm not there in flesh doesn't mean I'm not with you. I'm there with you in spirit. Everything's going to be okay, hun. I love you and miss you. Give me a call after everything is done with tomorrow.
This morning, on my way to work, I got off the bus, crossed the street, and got on the bus going back to where I came from. I am having pains in my chest, and I have decided to go to the Air Force Base Hospital instead. It saved my life. There is a blockage and one collapsed artery where they put the stent in 2002. That one was in a spot where the doctor said,
I really don't like it when it's there. On a male patient, it is called the widow maker.
so I thank God that I got through it with no problems. God, I guess Ricky is rubbing off on me. I personally had just used higher power when I had to say something in a meeting. I had given up on God years ago and was really starting to believe this Bible and religious stuff was just a big scam. All the people I had ran into in my life always wanted to get me saved. But after a few months, if I wasn't acting the way they thought I should be acting, they would give up. I purposely used the word acting because they expected me to do things like fall out if they pushed me on my forehead or to hop up and down to prove I was filled with the Holy Ghost or to speak this gibberish that made no sense and they called it talking in tongues. Ricky is different. He reminds me of Yvonne. He talks about God and his son Jesus and the Holy Spirit as if he knows them. And he never puts me down, no matter how silly I think my questions are about God. He never puts me down or makes me feel like I have committed the unpardonable sin by having issues with God. Well, it is April 23rd, and they finally discharged me. I'm home, but not feeling too well after taking the medications that they gave me. I felt better before I took them, but that is life. They both say I'll experience the following side effects, blah, 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 until my body adjusts to them. I'm glad to be home. Ricky got back into town a couple of days later. On May 19th, Ricky celebrated 8 years sober. I created my first full-length video for that one. I have to admit, I am very proud of myself despite being sick all the time. On August 2nd, I had two of the four tests done that I had been scheduled for. The breathing one I didn't do so well on, and the blood flow from the heart to the brain one was done. The other two had been rescheduled for next Friday. The Air Force Base hospital decided they want those done at the hospital. As we left the appointment, Baby, better known as Ricky, is giving me red carpet service again from there by driving me to my appointments. When I stepped out on faith and allowed Ricky in my heart, it opened up a floodgate that allowed me to have love and compassion for many others. The relationships that were already established went to different levels. People that I could not see being a part of my world became important to me. How I treated and perceived friends changed. I no longer have an inner circle that you had to earn your way to. I am back in the hospital. I am having chest pains again. I am having another heart attack. When Ricky was finally allowed in my recovery room, he informed me that the crusher, after we left to come to the hospital and after his set, also had a heart attack and died earlier in the day. Since I had just had my own heart attack, it took me a while to comprehend what he was saying. The crusher is a bass player also, and they played together a lot. He is the boyfriend of Pam E., a singer and friend of ours. I am devastated. How is it that we both have a heart attack and I'm the one that survives? How is this possible? He was way healthier than me. It does not seem fair. There is an ego contest going on between my military cardiologist and my civilian cardiologist. If one prescribes one prescription, the other changes it. I am back in. It has only been a week. And as of right now, they are starving me per my doctor's orders. Apparently, they're going to go back in and take a look later today, or I may get a reprieve and the doctors say, never mind, and I get to leave, which they kind of doubt. Since my doctor hand wrote the order and they say he's never done that before because he usually dictates, so I get the pleasure of being waited on another day and wonder if I can get a back rub from Ricky out of the deal. God sent me a nurse from heaven. She had filled in last night when my nurse was not available. She came in my room tonight and said,
I get to be your nurse tonight. I got to be briefed and do my rounds. I'm going to leave you for last.
and she was all excited. She came back about 90 minutes later, sits down, and says, tell me about your condition. I proceeded to try to explain what Prinzmetal's angina was. variant angina, also called Prinzmetal's angina. It's caused by a spasm in the heart's arteries that temporarily reduces the blood's flow. It can cause severe chest pain, which is the main symptom. It most often occurs in cycles, usually at night when I'm sleeping for some silly reason. Prinzmetal's angina is rare. It represents about 2 out of 100 cases of angina. The worst part is, besides the fact that it feels like a contraction or a Charlie horse in my chest, the biggest risk is if the spasm lasts too long, the walls of my arteries can collapse. I already belong to a private online group of others like me around the world. We talked. She asked questions. I answered. She then said,
It seems that since there isn't any known cure right now, the best thing would be to keep you from having them. So instead of giving you the pain meds after the spasm and pain has started, and then we are chasing the tail, so to speak, we need to get in front of the spasm and pain and see if we can prevent it from happening.
she left and came back 20 minutes later with approval from my doctor to give me the meds every 4 hours instead of when needed to see if we can keep the spasms from happening. Turns out she was a nurse, normally from the neurology department, and the brain has vasospasms also. So she figures it's the same. She is amazing. And her idea seems to work during the night, because at 3:30 a spasm started, went to about a 2 on the pain scale, and then stopped. Once my heart was stabilized for 48 hours, they let me go home. At the beginning of September, my friend Deborah went in for a routine hernia repair and did not survive the surgery. I have known Deb since I moved to Las Vegas in 1999 because of the video I had did for Ricky. I did one for Deborah's memorial service. I am numb. I was literally released from the hospital tonight, and her funeral is tomorrow. How do you cope when someone tells you they are afraid to be around you because you might die? That stabbed like a knife. Usually stuff bounces off me, but I am having a real hard time trying to digest this one. Wow, that makes my heart hurt more than the spasms. It was hard hearing Ricky talk about his fears. With the death of the Crusher and Deborah still fresh in our minds, we talked about our fears, although I was not ready to hear what he was saying. After being in the hospital 7 times in the last 5.5 months, I need a vacation so I can catch up on all the sleep I have lost. Ricky has a new job, working 5 days a week and 9 hours a day doing airport shuttles, which keeps him in town. That way, he is closer. That was an answer to prayer. Ricky had been looking for a driving job that would keep him home more. A lot of those who know me know the struggle I have with this God thing. I believe I don't believe. I believe. I don't believe. Is he real? How do you really know? Is it wrong to be angry with God? If so, I'm totally screwed. Does God really exist? And how do you know? Would you believe in God if it wasn't written in a book? If God created the world, who created God? Is it okay for me to doubt God's existence? Where did God come from? How did he get here? Does God forgive repeatedly, or is there a limit? If God is the all powerful, who created him? Why does God heal some people of illness and not others? If God didn't want Adam and Eve to eat the apple, why did he create a talking snake? Who does God ask for advice? Do pastors actually believe all the stuff they preach? Have you really talked to God, or do you just think you have? Why aren't my prayers answered? Oops, got a little carried away. Anyway, those are the questions I constantly bring up to Ricky. And lately, my prayer and meditation life has seemed to be under attack, according to Ricky. When Ricky and I pray together, he wraps his arms around me. Always has since we first prayed together on the 21st day of our relationship. Yet, all of a sudden, I am claustrophobic again, and I can't breathe. Or when I'm trying to meditate, I've been trying this chant, and I can't even say it without laughing because it sounds so silly. And when it comes to trying to clear my mind, I can last the whole 38 seconds. And yes, I have timed myself before my mind is off and running. My ego does not want anyone to know this stuff because it thinks I should be so much farther along in my spiritual life, and it doesn't want you to know. I probably debate and argue with God more than the average person. And I have beat myself up over and over because of this. So if you are religious and think you need to set me straight, don't. This morning, after surviving the panic attack that tried to get me during our prayer time together and his leaving, I once again made an attempt to pray and meditate. And because I was not feeling well, it took me no time to start venting at God and after beating myself up yet again. But this time I heard a tiny, tiny voice say,
I'll accept you coming to me anyway, then no way at all.
I needed no clarification of that at all. Being a mother, when my kids call, email, text, or Facebook, I drop everything and give them my undivided attention. Listen while they rant, advice if asked, help if possible. No matter how they come at me, I'm there the second they need me. Right now, according to Ricky, God does not care how I come to him, just that I do. He has already laid a spiritual foundation to grow on and an earthly guide to help me. Ricky has a spiritual life and a relationship with God that I admire and want. God is just waiting for me to take the step. I stayed on bed rest the days leading up to September 18th because Tony and I went to a meeting and then we hung out at her place, which had become my home away from home. We ended the day's adventure by going to see Ka by Cirque du Soleil at the MGM Grand. The next day, I made sure I went back on restriction and that take it easy mode. But at this moment, I feel good and have gone 9 days without going back to the hospital. October 5th is not starting good. I've been admitted again due to chest heaviness and discomfort. Dr. Sindiki of internal medicine just stopped by to say that Dr. Singh asked him to check on me. They are going to do a stress test and some others. He's a little concerned the stent may have closed. Yes, we are doing weekly visits now. Back at the Air Force Base ER with flutters, which brought me in, and an AV block, which is when the electrical signal that controls my heartbeat is partially or completely blocked. This makes my heart beat slowly or skips beats, and my heart can't pump the blood effectively. And that showed up on my EKG. The doctor said a word I won't repeat when he first saw it until he realized it was me. Unfortunately, that was not what is causing the flutters and tightness. So they are keeping me here and not transferring me to Sunrise. I want to report attempted murder. I started cardiac rehab again today, October 21st, and they tried to kill me. When I woke up on November 2nd, being in the hospital was not on my agenda. Thank God it is more precautionary due to a persistent cough that triggered the spasms. I get to spend the night. My lungs look good. Cough could be more heart related. Heart is still doing its spasm dance. So I get to do breathing treatments along with the morphine. Woohoo! I get to go home. Get this, it is just an upper respiratory infection. Never thought I'd be so happy to say that. It has been a week, and I have a follow up from my last hospital stay. And I also got called back in for an abnormal mammogram. Normally, I wouldn't be concerned, but last year they spotted something. I went through the retest and ultrasound, and they decided to wait and see if there would be any change. Since they called the day after the test this year, something has changed. Even though I know it will be whatever God has planned, I am putting in a prayer request for renegotiations. I would really, 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 really like the holidays off from going to the doctor's office or a hospital. Cardiac rehab update for November 18th. Even with the adjustments in meds, my blood pressure is still not acting the way they need it. Starting out, it was 100 over 65. After 45 minutes of exercise, it was 112 over 72, which is perfect. But after 5 minutes of rest, it dropped to 90 over 56, both too low. So a report will be faxed to my doctor per his request. It was a good day today. I got everything done except the dining room and vacuuming. Dinner was great because baby said it was, and he was asleep in record time. Watching the Clippers Thunder game, happy with myself that I did get the majority of the stuff done in spite of a 2 hour setback because of my blood pressure dropped too low. Even though my health is not going the way I think it should, I am grateful for the healing we have seen so far. It has been 17 days since I've been in the hospital for the 12th time this year. Thank you, Ricky, not only for loving me, but for your support, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, for having my back, being my knight in shining armor, coming to my rescue with the police when you thought I was in danger, for having my best interest, for keeping my focus centered and satisfied, for always putting a smile on my face, for wanting to spend your life with me. I love you with all my heart, body, and soul. On this day of thanks, I want to tell all men that take care of their homes, take care of their women, take care of their children, even if they don't live with the kids or just do the best that they can. It is not about what you have. It is about who you are and what you do. Material things are nice. You must have money to survive. But when it comes down to reality, a woman that is loved and feels it will stand by her man no matter what. Happy Thanksgiving. December 17th required another visit. They started some of my medications back up, started the morphine back since heart rate was high enough. The head cardiologist talked and decided not to do another stress test since my last one was last October. They are going to try adjusting some meds to see if my heart rate improves. If not, they said, we have been conferring with the American Prinzmetal's Angina Association about options such as stent placement, which they have done, and bypass surgery. But for now, they are going to observe and adjust meds. I had the biopsy 5 days ago before coming to the hospital, and the results are still not in. From my abnormal mammogram, they were checking me for breast cancer. The mass they were concerned about was still there. I remember my first thought after I was told was, no, not the girls. I had nicknamed them that because of their size. I was a 44G at my last measurement, and they are always getting in the way. They must really think I have nothing better to do than lie around and wait. I got my results today while I was at the hospital. I called Ricky. Hey, I got the results.
Yeah,
No cancer.
that's great, baby. So, are they letting you go home?
Still waiting.
Did you thank God?
Yes.
Call me if they let you go before I get there.
Prayers are working. My heart rate has stayed above 50 for the last 6 hours. If my cardiologist says I can go home, I get to go home today. I still have the spasms, but as you know, those are normal now. It is December 30th, and I'm back in the Air Force Base Hospital ER. I'm their complicated, precious cargo, as the ambulance drivers have now started referring to me. They just stopped the Renexa. Also now, the pain meds have been switched to Motrin because my blood pressure is still too low and my heart rate is between 45 and 46 beats per minute. They also increased my oxygen, and the nurse said the doctors are calling in for my readings every 15 minutes while they once again try to stabilize me so I can be transferred to Sunrise Hospital.